Welcome to this Excel Basics video tutorial. In this tutorial I'll be showing you most of the basics that you need to know to get started using Microsoft Excel. The version of Excel that I'm using in this tutorial is Excel 365 for Windows. If you're using an older version or even a newer version of Excel, or if you are using Excel on a Mac, there will be some slight differences. But for the most part this tutorial will be very applicable to your operation system or version of Excel. I just opened Excel and now Excel would like me to make a choice. It wants to know if I would like to open up an Excel template or simply open a blank workbook. As you can see, there are lots of templates to choose from. There's a photo calendar, there's personal monthly budget, attendance reports, there is a to-do list template allo. There's all sorts of great Excel templates that you can just open up and start using. And there is an option to search online for Excel templates. I will do a search for budget and that gives a long list of templates on budget. You're not limited just to the one budget file. There's a whole bunch that you can choose from. After choosing one, just press Create. And Excel will create a spreadsheet with selected template. So take your time to explore the available templates and use what is available. And in many cases much of the work is already done for you. You can simply use somebody else's template and adjust it according to your needs. Templates are very useful, but having said that, I think, in order to really learn to use Excel fully and properly, it's best to start with a blank workbook. So I'm just going to click on Blank Workbook. A blank workbook is opened up. First thing we need to know about Excel is its layout. There are certain terms that you need to know. First of all, across the top we have some tabs. Let us explore. We have the Home tab, the Insert tab, Page Layout and more. As you can see, each of these tabs is pretty important, and when you click on a particular tab it opens up a ribbon. This is the ribbon for the page layout. If I click the Page Layout tab, I get the Page Layout ribbon. Now each ribbon is divided up into groups, so you can see I have a Themes group. I have a Page Setup group, a Scale to Fit group, and these are all on the Page Layout ribbon. And I get to that ribbon by clicking on the Page Layout tab. You'll notice in the corner of some of these groups a small arrow. It's called the Dialog Launcher. The Font group has a little launcher button in the corner. The Alignment group has a launcher button in the corner. Number group has one. The Style group doesn't have one. Now what are these dialog launcher buttons? You can click on these launcher buttons to give you even more options, which is not fit in group area. Sometimes they can fit everything in that little group, sometimes they can't, and if they can't, there's a dialog launcher button that you can click to get even more. There are some Excel layout terms that you need to know. This is the spreadsheet, and spreadsheets are made up of columns and rows. So you can see we have column A, column B, column C, column D, etc. And if I browse to the right, you can see that there is even more columns. Once it gets to Z, we have double A column, and if I continue to explore, there are lots and lots of columns in this spreadsheet. Now let us talk about rows. I have row number 1, row number 2, row number 3, okay, so spreadsheets are made up of columns and rows. The intersection of a column and a row is what produces a cell. So this is a cell, and every cell in Excel have a name. This particular cell is named A1. How I got that name? It's just the intersection of the column A and row 1. This particular cell here has a name. It's C7. This is H3. And this is W26. Now that may seem obvious and unimportant. But it actually is very exciting, important and powerful, that every cell in Excel have a name. Because it has a name, you can describe it and you can have Excel do certain things with the content in each cell. That we will discuss later. In addition to columns, rows and cells, There's another important thing about Spreadsheet that you need to know about. And that is a range. A range is a group of cells that are together. A range could be this, it could be any number of cells. It's basically a group of cells that are next to each other, that are together. And guess what? Ranges can also be named just like cells. So just like this is named L7, I can also name this range. So how can you name a range? In a spreadsheet, a cell range is defined by the reference of the upper left cell of the range and the reference of the lower right cell of the range. So this is the range from J5 through the cell in the lower right, which is Q18. So J5 through Q18, that is the name of this range. When you refer a range, just type the starting cell name, then type a colon, and then type the ending cell name. As you can see, when I type equals J5 through Q18 in a cell, Excel automatically selects the range. Okay, that was some background information that you're going to need in order to really use Excel properly. Now we learn about Excel spreadsheet, layout of the ribbon, tabs, groups, cells, and range. We were working on a sheet, which is sheet 1, and I can add a sheet 2, sheet 3, etc. Each of these sheets added together is what creates a workbook, so sheets or worksheets add up to a workbook. Okay, so now that we've got all that as a foundation for our Excel use, let's now start actually creating and working on an Excel spreadsheet. Now to make this a little bit more easy for you to watch, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So I'm going to use this slider in the lower right corner, and I'll just click and drag to zoom in on my spreadsheet. Okay, so that should be a little bit easier for you to see. Now I'm going to click on A1 and enter some data in this A1 cell, and just as an example, I am going to create an inventory of books collection. This could be anything, like inventory of supplies, inventory of movies that you own, the supplies at Yacht School. Whatever it might be, but here, I am going to do an inventory of the books that I own. First thing I want to do is a title. So, I'm going to type in A1, and I'll type books inventory, and you'll notice that my text is bigger than the cell area, and it goes too far to the right. But don't worry about that now. Just hit enter or return on the keyboard. And I've successfully entered my first data in our spreadsheet. Now it looks like these words books inventory are spilling over from A1 into B1. But actuality that's not exactly true. Both of these words, books inventory, are stored in A1. If I click on B1, type something and hit return or enter, and you'll notice that books inventory is still stored in A1. They don't interfere with each other, so no need to worry if your text is too wide to fit in A1. But sometimes making your spreadsheet look nice actually helps you use it better. So let's talk about how I could maybe fix this. It's not really a problem, but how could I fix it if I want to make it look a little nicer and easy to read? We can stretch out any column or even any row if I want to by just putting the mouse between any two column letters. So this is column A and column B. Put my mouse between the two, right on the line, or very close to it, and you'll notice that my mouse cursor changed into a double-sided arrow. That's a good sign. So now I can click and drag to stretch that out to make it wider. You may have noticed, when I entered movie inventory into that cell and I hit enter or return, it automatically moved me down. In Excel, when you tap enter or return, you move down a cell in the spreadsheet. If you want to move up the spreadsheet, you can hold Shift and hit enter or return, and it will move up. So, Shift enter or Shift return moves up. Enter or return moves down. So what if you want to move to the right? Maybe I want to type something in B1. What I would do is, I would press Tab key. Tab moves you to the right. So I could enter more text there, and then press Tab, and enter more text there, and just keep tabbing over. What if you want to move left? Yes, you are right. you would hold, Shift and press Tab. So Shift is basically used to do the opposite of whatever it would be otherwise. OK. So Enter or Return is normally move you down. Shift Enter or Shift Return will move up. Tab moves you to the right, Shift Tab is to the left. Another way you can navigate through the spreadsheet is by using the arrows keys on your keyboard. You can use up, down, left, right arrow keys. You can just use those to move up, down, left, or right. Some people may be more comfortable using arrow keys, but some may be not. But that's another option, and of course, you can always use your mouse to click whatever cell you want to move. But learning to use Excel with keyboard will be much better and easier. So I've got my title in there now. I'm going to click on A2 and I'm going to type the heading, which is book name. Now I'll press Tab key to move over to the right and I'll put in date I have purchased the book. Press Tab, type my rating, Tab again, the price. Now I can store important information about my book inventory. So our title is ready. Let us add some records. The first record would be the first book. So I will type the Midnight Library and press Tab to move over to the right. I purchased it 2021. I rate it 4, and it cost me $25. I'll add some other record here. Our next book will be The Alchemist. I bought it in 2020, rate it 4.5 and it costs $15. I misspelled a word here, and I would like to fix that. You'll notice that I misspelled alchemist here. If I click on cell A4 to try to fix that misspelling, watch what will happen. As soon as I type it erases the existing word. The reason why is because when you click on a cell anything that you type replaces what is there already. It deletes what's there and then replaces it with whatever you type. So what is the solution? To get in edit mode you have to double-click on the cell. Notice what happens when I double-clicked on that cell. It actually jumped me inside the cell and now I have a cursor that's flashing, and I can click, or I can use the arrow keys to move that cursor where I want. So select a cell, and start typing will delete all the information in that cell. If you want to edit the contents of a cell, double-click in the cells, and Excel will allow you to edit it. OK, let us correct the misspelled word here. I will double-click it, then move the cursor to the desired position with arrow keys. Edit the text and hit Enter again. This may seem like a silly thing, but Excel is all about details, and all of these little tiny things will really enhance your use of Excel. So please pay attention to these details. Your use of Excel will be much more satisfying and effective. Let me add some more records. Our title is still off the side, so let us move it to the center. So I will click on cell A1 and drag to the right. While still holding the mouse clicked, I'm going to drag till D1. I don't have anything beyond that, so I just clicked and dragged to get all the way across. Now, in Home tab, Alignment Group, there's a button here called Merge and Center, and if I click on that, see what just happened. It merged all of those cells together. So this is now one big cell and it is centered. OK. Merge and Center combines two or more cells to create a new, larger cell. This is a great way to create a label that spans several columns. Now it looks a lot better than before. You may notice that I was adjusting the column width automatically by double-clicking. Let me explain in detail. OK. I will resize the columns so the text won't fit properly in cells. OK. Now just go between any two column letters and double-click, and after double-clicking, look what happens. It automatically and perfectly sized the column so that all the text will fit. I could do that also for year purchased and for rating. Now notice in that case the rating column actually got narrower. It's because it doesn't need to be longer than what it is now. Okay. So I can do that with price. So that is cool, right? But what if you have several columns, for example, let us say 50 columns. Resizing 50 columns will consume a lot of time. Let us do a time-saver trick here. Instead of double-clicking between every single column, what I can do is click and drag on the column letters all the way across to the end of my data, and then double-click between any two of these, it doesn't matter which. Double-click, and notice now it automatically resized every column. Every column that I had selected was affected by that double-click, and now it is perfectly sized. To fit the content of those cells, you can see everything is perfectly sized. There is one more way to resize many columns or rows together. Select the columns you want to resize, then click and drag between column letters. And watch what happens. I'm going to resize this column. As you can see, every single column was affected. Because I had selected each, they're all affected by that. And they're all exactly the same width. So hopefully, these little tricks will help you to be able to resize your columns the way that makes the most sense for you. These will look your data neat and increase the readability. Okay, let us format our title and heading so that they stand apart. As you may noticed, my title is in bold letters. How I did it? So we'll click on Book Inventory, which our title, and then, in Home tab, under Font Group, just press bold. B stands for bold. Yes. My text now become normal. Clicking again will make them bold again. Now let us make our headings bold and italicized. Instead of selecting each headings and format them individually, we will select them together by clicking on the row number. As you can see, all of them are highlighted. Now I will choose bold and italic, and as you can see, it affected everything that's selected. So at this point, I hope that you are familiar now with the different names of the layout in Excel. Now we know about tabs, groups, the ribbons. We also know about columns, rows, cells and ranges, sheets, and workbooks. And now, we know how to enter data. And then how to select it and change their appearance. And we also know how to adjust the column width. You can do that with the rows as well, I hope. This tutorial gives you a good foundation and helps you to understand the basics of using Excel. In a future video I'll show you some intermediate level of Excel tips and tricks. The ways that you can save time and effort as you're building your spreadsheets. We'll also learn about formulas and functions. And that's really where much of the power of Excel is found. And I'll also show you some of advanced Excel tips and tricks. Thanks for watching this Excel Basics tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it and please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel for more videos.